There's a shape people swear is hidden in the streets of Washington, D.C. A pentagram, pointing, they say, right at the White House. For 200 years, that claim has refused to die. I'm an architect, so instead of telling you it's true or telling you it's nonsense, I'm going to do something better. I'm going to put the actual plan on the screen, the real one, from 1791, and show you exactly where the geometry is real and exactly where it lives only in our imagination. By the end, one of these 10 will surprise you. It surprised me. Number 10. Start with what's actually drawn. In 1791, a French-born engineer named Pierre-Charles L'Enfant was handed something almost no architect ever gets: a blank capital city to design from nothing. And his plan is a real, surviving document. You can see it today. What he drew was deliberate: a grid of ordinary streets, and then, slashing across it, a set of grand diagonal avenues connecting the important places directly. As an architect, the first thing I notice is that this isn't mystical at all. It's practical genius. The diagonals let you move fast across a city that the grid alone would trap you in. Everything people later read as secret starts here, with a working plan for moving people and projecting importance. Number 9. Why the avenues cut across the grid. Here's the thing the conspiracy versions skip. Those diagonals aren't decoration. They're the whole idea. L'Enfant studied European capitals, and he borrowed a Baroque trick: long, straight avenues that aim your eye at a monument or a seat of power. So when you stand on one, you're not looking at a street. You're looking at something: the Capitol, a statue, a dome. The geometry was built to direct your gaze toward authority. That's real, it's documented, and it's the key to everything else on this list. Number 8. The lines of sight. L'Enfant placed the major buildings so they could see each other. The Capitol, the President's house, key monuments, connected by clear visual axes. He took this directly from Versailles, where every path was arranged to point back at the king. And this is where I want you to feel the architect's intent, not the mystic's. Arranging a city by sight lines is one of the oldest power moves in design. It tells you, without a single word, what matters and who's in charge, because the whole city literally points at it. No secret society required. Just a designer who understood that geometry is a language and used it to spell out power. Number 7. The Great Axis, the National Mall. That enormous open spine running from the Capitol is the backbone of the whole plan. But here's something even the plan's designer didn't foresee. L'Enfant drew it as a grand processional avenue. What it became, a century later, was something else entirely: a national stage. The Macmillan Plan of 1901-02 revived and reshaped it. It's now the place a nation gathers to celebrate, to mourn, and to protest its own leaders. The geometry was designed to glorify power, and the people quietly repurposed it to confront power. Same axis, opposite meaning. That's a city's plan staying alive long after its author is gone. Number 6. The question everyone asks: was the designer himself a Freemason? And here the honest answer is genuinely fascinating. For decades, Masonic historians themselves said no. There was no evidence L'Enfant was ever a Mason. Then, recently, records surfaced. He was initiated in New York in 1789. But, and this matters, he barely participated. He never really advanced. So the truthful version is the unsatisfying one. Technically a Mason, in practice almost not at all. Hold on to that, because it's about to matter. Number 5. Where the institutions sit. Look at how the great buildings cluster: the Capitol, the White House, and the avenue between them forming a clear triangle of power. Conspiracy readings love a triangle, but an architect sees something plainer. This is just zoning by importance. Put the most powerful institutions at the strongest geometric points and connect them with the grandest streets. The triangle is real. It's right there. But it's the natural result of ranking buildings by power, not a hidden glyph. Sometimes a triangle is just three important things. Number 4. The big one. The pentagram. Here's the claim. Trace certain avenues above the White House, and you get a 5-pointed star, an inverted pentagram, the supposed proof of dark intent. So let's actually do it. Watch the lines draw on. 3 of them really do follow real avenues. Those streets are there, exactly as the plan drew them. That part isn't invented. But watch the 2 in red. They don't follow any avenue at all. To close the star, you draw them straight across the grid, over blocks and buildings, where there's only pavement. The figure only holds together if you pretend those 2 lines exist. That's the whole trick in one image. You start with something real, 3 diagonal streets, and you finish the shape with your imagination. The pentagram isn't in the plan. It's in the pen of whoever's drawing it. Number 3. The Masonic compass and square, supposedly drawn into the streets. Same method, so let's apply the same honesty. Yes, if you pick the right 4 streets and squint, you can lay a compass and square over them. But you have to choose those streets, ignore the dozens that don't fit, and stretch the angles to taste. I could do that to almost any city with diagonal avenues. Give me enough streets and a shape I want to find, and I'll find it. That's not architecture. That's pattern matching, and our brains are dangerously good at it. Number 2. And this is the one that flips the whole episode. After spending all this time debunking hidden stars, here's a Masonic fact that is completely, undeniably real, and it's on the public record. On September 18, 1793, George Washington, wearing a Masonic apron, laid the cornerstone of the United States Capitol in a full Masonic ceremony. Corn, wine, and oil poured over the stone. An inscribed silver plate set beneath it. The plate was even dated in the year of Masonry, 5793. Think about that. The conspiracy crowd hunts for secret stars in the streets and misses the genuine Masonic ritual that happened in broad daylight, with a parade and 10,000 witnesses. The real Masonic mark on this city was never hidden at all. It was a public ceremony. We just weren't looking where the evidence actually is. And number 1. The thing actually hidden in Washington, D.C. It was never an occult symbol. It was an idea. The idea was this. A brand new republic needed to look like power, to feel as permanent and important as the old capitals of Europe before it had earned any of it. So L'Enfant borrowed the visual language of kings, of Versailles, of empire, the axes, the sightlines, the grand avenues, and pointed it all not at a monarch, but at the institutions of a democracy. That's the real hidden message. Not a star, not a curse. A young country dressing itself in the architecture of authority, hoping to grow into the clothes. And here's what surprised even me, going back through it. The boldest, most documented Masonic act in the city's founding wasn't hidden in a single street. It was a man in an apron, lowering a stone in front of everyone. The secret was that there was no secret, just a city built to be read by anyone willing to actually look. Here's the test I want to leave you with, and it works on every city in this series. A real symbol leaves a paper trail, letters, ceremonies, a designer who wrote down what he meant. A projected symbol leaves only the pattern, and a person holding a pen, wanting to find it. Washington, D.C. is full of the first kind. You don't need the second to be amazed by it. If you want to see a city that encoded its meaning completely on purpose and admitted it, that's the next one. It's shaped like an airplane,